Hi, my name's Renee and I own Spire Mortgage Team. Over my 10 years as a commodity trader, my 20 years as a real estate investor, and my 8 years as a mortgage broker, I have had the absolute privilege of meeting some powerhouses that are transacting in real estate in Western Canada. I am so lucky to be joined by May Davidson from RE/MAX First today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. I've had the pleasure of working with you for a very long time. I think it was a very hard deal that introduced us one time. May calls me the janitor, I think, still. And so we both have a gritty feel. We love to get into it and make things happen for clients. I think maybe that's why it works, hey?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Usually you would say, what? It's a Friday, not before a long weekend? Why are you calling me?
Exactly. Are you sure this phone call was meant for me?
Exactly.
Anyway, okay, so tell me, let's start at the beginning. So how long have you been in real estate and how did you end up here? Give me the story.
Okay. I've been in real estate for about 20 years now. And I started real estate when my youngest went into, I guess it was grade 1, maybe even kindergarten. So my previous career was with TELUS. I was with TELUS for about 17 years. And I ended up taking a package from TELUS when my youngest was about 3.5.
Okay.
And then when she started school, I said, what am I going to do with my life? I don't want to go back to the corporate world.
Yeah.
I do not want to work for a large organization. And my best friend at the time, who is now my partner, said to me, why don't you write your real estate license? And I said, well, there's no way that I could ever survive on being 100% commission-based.
Interesting.
And he's like, well, what have you got to lose? And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll give it a whirl. So I wrote my license, and literally, like, the rest was history.
Wow. 20 years later, I guess she made it work.
Yeah.
What you kill commission income.
Well,
hey?
and it can be challenging, right?
Slayed a few dragons along the way, hey?
Absolutely. You know, you have to get used to that ebb and flow, and that's hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
definitely. So tell me, what do you think it was, like, what skill set did you have that Curtis, this is the one that encouraged her to write her license, what skill sets did you have that made him think that you would be a good realtor or that you should write that license?
Well, I think a lot of it had to do with, one, I had a very strong sales background. And two, I think it's the communication skills.
Yes.
Right? You have to be able to communicate effectively. You have to be able to, well, when you've had a strong sales background, you go through all sorts of training on how to adapt to different clientele, right?
Right.
So different personalities, and how to be able to just kind of morph yourself into that, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're dealing with somebody who's detailed oriented. You're dealing with somebody, hey, I just want the Coles Notes version, right?
Exactly.
And you have to be able to adjust that. So I think the communication was the biggest thing. And, you know, I think that years ago when I worked for TELUS, I had my very first mentor. He said to me, you know, you're not the type of person that's motivated by money. And I actually thought at the time when I was younger that it was kind of an insult because I was in a sales role. But what he was meaning is that I wasn't motivated by money, and by continually doing the right things, the money will always come.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So if you focus on the prize, you're going to be sunk. If you focus on doing the right things, even when sometimes it doesn't feel good, even sometimes when it feels like it's not appreciated,
Yes.
it's important to stay true to yourself and continue to do the right thing, and you will be taken care of. I believe that to my core.
Oh my gosh. I could not, like, could you be listening to somebody with better integrity? Like, that's literally exactly how I hope I am raising my children to live too, right? Like, sometimes the hardest thing that we can do is tell a client, you probably shouldn't buy a house right now.
Yeah.
Right? Or, like, we probably shouldn't get this mortgage for this person because realistically they can't afford it. Right? And I think we've had lots of those hard conversations too, where the right thing was to do nothing, not to do something. Right?
And or to say, okay, you need to wait for 6 months when you're in a better place financially.
Yes. And I think that is true sales. And it's like, hey, how can I serve you? And being so committed to that and following it through all the way. And I think when you really lean into that side of sales, that's when your business can grow so much, right? Organically, because people truly trust you, right? And I think people forget that sales isn't just know and like, it's know, like, trust, right? Yeah. So that's huge. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so talk to me a little bit about your journey. I think you were an individual agent, and then you moved to working on a team. Talk to me about what made you make the choice to join a team originally.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'd say the first 10 years of my career, I was a sole agent. Curtis and I had partnered up professionally to support one another.
Okay.
And that seemed to work really well. And then, as I said, about 10 years ago, we were approached by a team, and it was an individual who had just started a website. Okay. But that 10-year mark, like 10 years ago, that was a beautiful, beautiful time to start a real estate website. So we were approached, and, essentially it was just a casual conversation saying, hey, you know what? I'm getting some leads through my website. Mm-hmm. Would you be interested?
Yes.
Would you be interested in, like, if I were to, toss you a few leads, and, they're cold, but they're not like they're a little warmer than an actual cold call, because they've gone through and they've inquired and they've said, yes, I want somebody to contact me.
There's an intent there, right? There's like an intent to maybe look at real estate.
Absolutely.
At least, right? Yeah.
And so Curtis and I thought, what have we got to lose? Like, we're wondering, like, this is kind of a win-win situation. There was a bit of a split, right? Yeah. If you were successful and you closed it, then you pay a referral, which is totally appropriate, right? Because, you wouldn't have that business if it weren't for that lead coming through that website. And so we were like, sure. This particular website absolutely took off like there is no tomorrow. And we became primarily focused on leads. Mm-hmm. And because of that, because you've got, it became very transaction-based business, which is not, that's not my cup of tea.
Okay.
However, when you're in the trenches and you've got this business coming at you, you've got to service these people.
Yes.
Whatever extent that takes, you have to service them. So we kind of forgot about our previous business. Not that we didn't forget, we didn't nurture it.
Yes.
Right? Fair. So we moved forward and we became very, very entrenched in this team for a number of years. And then it was just over the past couple of years that we have shifted and moved our business into, back to where Curtis and I originally had started.
I think there's a lot of like gold nuggets there to unpack. And so some of it is, I think, well, actually, I want to roll it right back. So one, I think different markets call for different things. And I think what's really interesting in what you said is that there was an opportunity presented to us. It was a great opportunity. The market timing was perfect, right? It was kind of at the beginning of this like online lead generation time. Yes.
It was right at conception. Anyway.
Yeah. And so, very, very rich, lucrative opportunity to participate in. And so I think that, it's really cool to hear like a well-connected, experienced agent recognize that there's a time and a place for that type of business, those types of leads, right? I've had agents come on the podcast that aren't from Calgary, didn't grow up in Calgary, don't have a network in Calgary. Right. And we've had conversations about where their business comes from, and they're like, listen, I joined a team because I need to build a network. I have no network, right? Yes. And so I'm willing to make cold calls all day because like I gotta grind, right? Yep. And so that's a great time and a place for that type of business. Obviously it was a great time and a place for you guys too. But then I think the second nugget there that's really interesting is that you were saying that you're so busy with that type of business that there is that nurturing that wasn't happening. Yes. And it's funny, at Spire, we talk about this a lot. And like when I'm coaching mortgage agents, I say the same thing. I'm like, when you get busy, the first thing that you quit doing is prospecting. right? Like when I get a couple of hard deals on my desk, it's like phone's on silent. I don't even want to talk to another mortgage person. Or another, mortgage client. I need to
classic of an agent,
right?
As well, because you've got to deal with what's in front of you.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
But those people that we have not nurtured and forgotten about are so important.
Yes.
Right? They're so important. They're so important when you're working with them, right? And you build these incredible relationships, and then you feel like you don't have the time to go back and nurture them and appreciate them and be grateful for the time that you had with them.
Yes. Right? Yes, absolutely. And I mean, there's so much in that, you guys. Like, think about it, whether you're a financial planner, a mortgage broker, a realtor, whoever's listening to this, the client base that you have those are your best referral partners. Yeah. Like, you won them over, you showed up in service to them. It was a successful transaction. Take care of them.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you think about a realtor, like, some of these transactions, maybe you made $10,000 from that transaction. Yeah. Like, my God, that person should at least get a phone call or a bottle of wine or a box of cookies every year, right? Just to be like, hey, thank you. I'm still so grateful.
Right.
And usually when you stay front of mind, they say, oh, hey, and my brother needs to buy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really interesting. Talk to me about, do you enjoy, like, I think you are an amazing salesperson, so it's fun, selling someone new, but do you enjoy working in your kind of sphere of influence more than you enjoyed working in the online lead space, or is it kind of both and?
I would say that overall, I enjoy my own sphere. But what I loved about the online space is I remember chatting with my team one day, and we were talking about these cold leads, and trying to you feel sometimes that you're standing on your head to try and connect with people, right? To try. Yeah. And what I had said to my team was, they need to work with me. They just haven't realized it yet.
Cool.
Because I felt so strongly about them needing me. Like, I really, really want to help you. And you know what? Some people, of course, you connect and get it. Some people, I've had to realize that you just never will.
Yes.
You can get down to, I don't want to say down to their level, because that's not what I mean. I mean, I've literally gotten in a brand new vacant home. I've gotten down on the floor and sat down on the floor with a client to try and articulate that I want what's best for them. I really, really want to help them.
Yes. Yeah.
But sometimes you just don't make that connection. So I did really love that, especially the first-time home buyers, because they are near and dear to my heart. Yes. First-time home buyers, a lot of them will come through a lead program.
Yes.
The other demographic that I'm very interested in are the elderly. Okay. Because I feel both need to be nurtured.
Yes. Yeah.
In different ways. But I just feel strongly that they need to be on a good path. Yes. And they need somebody to advocate for them, somebody who's got their back, somebody that can say, no, this is not the right home for you.
Yes.
Right? And say it's okay, because we will find one. Yes. And even when we lose out, especially in competing markets, when our first-time home buyers are it's so emotional, and they're frustrated, and I'm their little cheerleader. You know what? We're gonna find the right home, and if we lose a few along the way, that's
fine.
That's what it was meant to be.
Yeah.
Because there's a better home out there for you.
Yes.
And 9 times out of 10, people will say, if they've lost out, they'll say, I'm glad I lost that house because I love this one better.
Yes, I completely agree.
Right? Easy for us to say as agents, because we've been in the business a long time, and I know there's always going to be another great home. But when you're actually being able to show people that and prove it to them, it's so rewarding.
Yes, totally. I think I really love what you said about those two demographics needing a lot of support, because they do need a lot of education. It's I find it's almost the people that are most removed from the mortgage process. Like, I've never done it before, and I haven't done it for 30 years kind of thing. Yes. Right? And so I should say mortgage and home buying process, right? And what I find is the sort of, downsizers or more elderly clients, it's not that they're not super tech savvy or something like that, but a lot of them, especially in Alberta here, like, they have a ton of equity locked in the home they're living in, and they want to move to something else. And they need help and guidance for like lining up dates, buying versus selling, understanding bridge financing. Like they really need a lot of guidance. And so I've just seen you be so successful in both ends of that spectrum, because I do think they are the folks that are most removed from the process and need somebody to take the time to sit down.
And we're educators.
Clearly.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I don't see us as salespeople. As a matter of fact, I think that salespeople has like a bit of a negative connotation. Yes. Like I see ourselves as, you know, like we're consultants, but even that has a bit of a negative feel to it as well. Like, but we're educators, right?
Yeah.
Because people, we live and breathe this.
Yes.
And we do it every day. How many homes does the average person buy, right?
A couple, right? At best, right? Yes. Okay, so you moved on to the team. Now talk to me about the decision to go back out, you know, as an individual agent. Like talk to me about, was that hard? Was it, or what questions did you ask yourself about, like, okay, is this the right time for Curtis and I to be doing this, you know, as individual agents? Right. Yeah.
So the timing of me leaving this team, because I was only ever on one team. So the timing of me leaving this team was a little premature, but that decision got made to branch out. At this point, Curtis had already been removed from the team.
Okay.
For about 3 years. He'd already been removed.
Okay.
So I was the one that was still, you know, committed and working with the team with a great group of people. And so the decision, as I said, was made prematurely, and it needed to happen, and both Curtis and I knew that.
Yeah.
But again, you become complacent and you become dependent.
Yeah.
You know, and even as a seasoned agent, you know, that's a scary thing to say, okay, now, you know, you're not going to have the leads coming in, you know, you're not going to have, you know, the support from an administrative perspective that you're accustomed to.
Right.
Right. But I'm also a control freak. So I kind of like the administrative perspective because, you know, like I'm okay making my own mistakes, but, you know I'm going to get it done. Right? Yes. And so we just knew that we had to approach the business a little bit differently. And anybody who does leave a team does have to approach their business differently. Right. You have to go into that. You got to farm. You got to farm when you leave a team, and then figure out how you're going to hunt for, you know, net new business.
Yes. And talk to me about, so what have you done to farm your database?
So I think that the biggest thing for us is the fact that we've been in the business, you know, between Curtis and I collectively for 40 years.
Wow.
We have a lot of organic business.
Yes.
Right. So I think that, you know, we just more or less just had to get organized with, you know, with our database and just start just connecting with people again. Right. Like that's the biggest thing. And it doesn't really matter. Like there's lots of stats out there saying, you know, phone call is better than a text, an email, whatever. I think the important thing is that you just need to talk to people. You just need to connect with people. Some people want a phone call. Some people want a text, right?
Yeah.
So I think that it's just communicating.
Yeah.
And, you know, letting people know that, like, they're important, right?
There's such a gold nugget there that I don't want overlooked. And it's that some people think it's an email. Some people think it's a phone call. Some people think it's a text. I would venture to say half of our industry is sitting at home contacting no one right now because they're trying to make the decision about what CRM should I use? What database management system should I use? Should I send text? Should I call? And do you know what they do? Nothing. Right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's not about what you do. It's about making people feel important. Like that's such a gold nugget. And that can be done with just a quick personal text to 3 people on a Friday afternoon.
Totally. And you don't have to get some sexy CRM. Like if you're running a team,
sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right? But you know, when like I look at Curtis and like we're a little mom and pop shop, right? We just, you know, you just have to pick up that phone or text. And it is amazing how many people that you can actually connect with. The other day I'm driving along going, okay, you know what? It's been busy this past month, you know, had a child get married and we've got thank you. We've got a couple of small grandchildren that, you know, have been ill and we've been supporting our daughter and her husband with that. But I think that, you know, as I was saying, I was driving along and I'm like, okay, well, we've had this closing, this closing, this closing, and this closing. So I'm just like, hey, Siri, contact so-and-so, right?
Amazing.
Hey, or like to call so-and-so, or like, hey, text so-and-so. Hey, you know what? How did the move go last week? Blah, blah, blah. And it's not, yes, it's formal in terms of like our database and what's happening. But these are things that when we as realtors, I always say to people, I live in my vehicle. So when you're in your vehicle, hands-free, Siri is a great thing.
Yes.
Right? Just pick up the call or just tell her to call.
Yes.
I don't know how much communication I do with you in my vehicle, but pretty much all of it. And a
Siri
lot of times
sends everything from me.
Right? A lot of times I say to somebody, hey, I apologize for the lack of punctuation. I'm dictating into my phone, or right? Or sorry, that was autocorrect or whatever.
Yes.
People don't care.
No,
right?
not at all.
They just care, like, nice to hear from you.
Exactly.
Thank you for thinking of us.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. I love that. Honestly, I think that we confuse so many things or make things too stressful and then we do nothing.
Right.
So I love that mentality that it's like, you know what, just make people feel important.
And another reason why people do nothing is because of the sense, like they're overwhelmed. So when they're, you've got to follow up, you got to, make these phone calls, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. And then you realize that you've got like 10 things that somebody's screaming, whether it's yourself in your own head, but just break it down.
Yes.
Just, take one or two things. Try and master one or two things. You don't have to master 10.
Yes.
One or two things, and that will exponentially grow your business.
Yes, I agree. And I think breaking it down to, like, we just had our team meeting at Spire this morning and we were going through and it's like, listen, how many things can we fix before January 15th? Let's make a list and let's be realistic about what we want fixed, in our CRM or our, whatever we're working on with clients by January 15th. So things are a little bit different. Okay, these 5 things, this is on the list. The rest of them are, the list for the next month. But just, you have to make a list and break it down and pick a few, fix those, and do the next thing, right? And same with communication. Maybe it's like, okay, I'm going to break it down. I've got 100 clients. I'm going to do, 8 to 10 a month that I send an email and check in and whatever it looks like. And there's your year, right? If you can't get 8 to 10 emails out a month, I'm scared. It's time for a new job.
Right. Absolutely.
But so, okay. So if you were going to talk to a new agent, okay, they're getting started, and they're thinking about, going out on their own or joining a team, what kinds of questions should they ask themselves to make that decision?
What kind of questions they should ask themselves? I think one good question would be, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Because statistically, they say that agents, it takes a good 5 years for them to actually kind of entrench themselves into the business. The first 5 years is kind of the most difficult.
Okay.
And so from there, where do I see myself in 5 years? Now, what is it going to take for me to get there?
Okay.
I think it is a very difficult industry to penetrate. There is this perception that realtors do very, very little work and make a whole bunch of money. And that's just a lack of, just a lack of education. Business doesn't fall from the sky.
Yeah.
Right? Like it doesn't, I wrote my real estate license and now, the heavens are going to take care of me and it's just, things are just going to fall into my lap.
Yeah.
So I think it's just understanding what your goals are and then what are, the steps to get you to where you need to be, right? I think that they need to ask themselves what kind of an environment that they want to work in, right? Do you want to be completely left alone just to do your own, or do you want to, join a strong brokerage that's got incredible mentorship and support?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think with most agents, they would say we want good mentorship and, good support, right?
And that's hard to find. It is hard to find. Yeah. And I think the thing that people don't understand is that doesn't come without a cost. Like people want to pay 0 splits and also get mentorship, right?
Correct.
And so I think that
they want their cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I've met with many brand new agents, gone for coffee and chatted with them. I suggest that they interview, a few brokerages to figure out where they want to hang their hat.
Yeah.
For me, being at RE/MAX first, obviously at my age and where I'm at in terms of my career, I'm not looking for the mentorship program, But the support, you never know. In real estate, you never know when you are going to need that support. And we have the most incredible brokers at RE/MAX First.
Awesome.
Like,
that's so good.
Top notch quality, like they're amazing humans. Amazing. So figure out where you want to hang your hat, and then figure out how you want to go about making your business, right? Where are you going to make your business? So I think personally, for a new agent, they should start on a team.
Really? Yeah.
I remember years ago, my son said, you know what, I think I might go into real estate, Mom. Can I work with you and Curtis? I said, absolutely not. No, you're going to join a team.
Yeah.
You're going to join a team. You're going to get the support. You're going to get the mentorship. You're going to get the education, real life education.
Yes. Yeah.
But you have to, I think, look at that as a temporary point in your career, is being on a team. I think you have to set your goals for now. What does life look like? If now the next 5 years, if I'm going to be on a team, then what does the next 5 years after that look like?
Yes. Yeah.
And how are you going to get there?
How are you going to transition?
How are you going to transition?
Being so, I think complacent is an interesting word, but I understand, like, so focused on servicing what's in front of your face, because it feels like you're drinking from a fire hose. So how are you going to make that transition?
Yeah, so if I don't use the word complacent, I would use the word dependent.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. You can't be dependent your entire life.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you're on a team, the team owns those clients. Even though you've serviced the heck out of them, you've committed your blood, sweat, and tears.
Yes.
You don't own that client.
Yes. So the referral or the next buy or sell
Correct.
necessarily isn't yours, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. But you have to realize that, especially when you're starting out, whatever the split is, because you're absolutely right. People don't want splits. They don't want fees. Well, you know what? You get what you pay for.
Yes, right? Absolutely. Yeah.
And so, would you rather have, 50% of something or nothing?
Exactly. And I think what people don't realize too, like, one of the things that we've done at Spire, we have a couple of agents that have come on, and part of the reason that they've progressed so quickly is because they get the reps in, right? It's just like going to the gym. If you're doing that same exercise, clearly, I'm not a big gym goer, but I'm going to use this analogy. But if you're doing that exercise over and over and over, you get better at it quickly, right? You're building muscle memory. You understand how it works, right? But if you start in your first 5 years and you're only doing 2 deals a year, the market's shifting, you kind of forget what you're doing with the contracts. Like, you're not getting the reps in,
That's right?
Whereas I do think that joining a team and just allowing you to kind of build some muscle memory, get that kind of, critical mass of skills required to make decisions quickly and support clients in changing environments is like so big, right?
Yeah, and that's a really good point. That changing environments, right?
Yeah.
Because you can be in a hot market, right?
Yeah.
And, everything is, roses, right? You got tons of business coming, and then you can be, in the cooler markets and wondering, how am I going to put food on the table? And you got to be able to learn how to, work through those changing seasons, right? Because we have them all the time. What goes up must come down.
Yes.
Right? And to be on a team in a competing market and you're new is gold.
Yes. Just
because
to have the market
people don't understand unless you have experienced a competing market, you don't understand, and your lack of understanding will result in misinformation.
Yeah, to your client. Yeah.
And those are super hard lessons to learn.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I honestly think there's a time and a place, and
100%.
And I think I love that this conversation has kind of taken us through the stages of your career where something made sense or didn't,
right.
And some of those changes, and you can be successful in both, but it's like matching the opportunity with the market, with your life stage.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
And and I think, maybe one of the takeaways in that is just being open-minded to it, right? I think that I've, met agents over the years that see it only in one silo. Like, this is the way I'm going to do real estate. I got my license and decided to be an individual agent, but like, is it working? Or do you need to look outside that silo? Or I got my license, I joined this team. Okay, is it working? Or is it time to branch off?
Exactly.
Right?
And constantly, I think a critical thing to do as an agent is constantly reevaluate yourself.
Yes.
Reevaluate, who do I want to be? how do I want to say that? What could I have done differently? Because there's going to be, there's going to be unfortunate situations, and you really have to self-reflect and say, what could I have done differently?
Yeah.
You know, because I've always said to my kids, you know what, I've got two decisions to make. If I hang a left, this is what's going to happen. If I hang a right, this is what's going to happen. So choose wisely.
Yeah.
Right? But remember that good agents are constantly learning.
Yes. Yeah.
And people I've heard in the past say every transaction is the same. Absolutely not.
Oh my gosh. I haven't found
We're all different people. How could every transaction be the same?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I would say Kirsten and I often joke about this or laugh about it, is that we literally learn something new every week.
Yes.
We come across situations that we've never experienced before.
Yeah.
And we've been in the business a long time.
Yeah.
So would say to people, don't always think you know everything.
Yes. Yeah. I think one of my favorite books is called Rookie Smarts by Liz Wiseman. And I heard her speak one time. And so her whole theory is that when you have that rookie mindset, when you come at something where you know nothing, rookies are always so keen, like so coachable, teach me everything. They're kind of always have their eye on the ball, looking for that next opportunity or where they might be able to get a little bit better, up their game, right? And I think that rookie mindset or rookie smarts is so important in our business because the market is so dynamic. I'm the same. Like, I learn something every week.
And never have an ego.
Yes.
Get
humility.
rid of it, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Okay. I have one last question. Okay. I'm hoping you can give me some tips. What is
pressure.
It like working with your partner in real estate?
That's a really good question. I think husband and wife in real estate should both be realtors.
Really?
Right? Not one person's a realtor and the other one's not, because we get it. Right? Like you get the business. I think when it's hard when, you're married to a realtor. When my daughter finished university and she moved back home, she'd be cooking dinner, and this was, prior to Curtis and I cohabitating, and we'd make dinner, or she would make dinner. She's a great cook. She'd make dinner, and I'd be on the phone
the whole time.
So, every night it was a cold dinner. So one night she said to me, "Mom, if you and I were married, we'd be divorced." And I said, "Well, it's a good thing that we're not married, right?" So there's a lot to be said about, husband and wife both being realtors, living together and living and breathing real estate. It's amazing. It's fantastic, but it also comes with, a little bit of irritation, right? Because we're different, right?
Yeah.
You're different human beings, right? Curtis is I'll do one task and he will do it perfectly. Slow, meticulous, perfectly. Not me. I'll do 100, right? Make a few mistakes along the way, right? Yeah. So we complement each other personality-wise that way.
That's awesome.
Years ago when we weren't living together, I could just get into my car at the end of the day and go, "Oh my God, thank God," right? Driving away, right? And I get to go home to my, my peaceful home. But I think that the beauty of our partnership and relationship is sometimes I'm not a good fit for a client. And that's okay. Yeah. Right? Yeah. We can't be everyone's favorite.
Yes.
And other times he is.
That's amazing.
The perfect fit, right?
Yeah.
So we're really good at, hey, you know what? You kind of need to take the lead on this one.
Interesting.
Or you need to take the lead on that one.
Yeah.
So that works out really well for us. Awesome. But I also think we started off as best friends, kind of both went into real estate at the same time.
Yeah.
So we always, we've always had it. So it's very natural for us,
It seems very natural.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's been very fun to get to work with both of you and see how you guys manage your business. Well, it's really, really cool to see.
Such an integral part of our business. We absolutely could not do it without you. And yeah, I love working with you and your team.
Thank you. Likewise. That's so kind. And yeah, I'm so glad you came and visited with me today. Thank you.
I really appreciate being invited.
Yeah,
I'm honored.
All right, guys. May Davidson.